everyone. It's Amy Sayer here from your Westfield W League Sydney FC team. Thank you, everyone, for all of the questions you've sent in this week for our members and fans. I'll try and answer as many as possible in the next 20 minutes or so, depending on how many there are. And if you have any more, just please drop them in the comment section and I'll try to get to as many as possible. So the first question we have is from Peter from Engadine. He says, what made you want to pursue a career in football? So I started when I was really young. I was about 5. I joined my local team, and then all of the young development clubs were starting up for all of the girls' teams. So I started playing with boys until I was 12. And then once I was in the system, I pretty much just kept going up, and I love to always push myself. So it was always about reaching that next level. So I went from the institute teams to an NPL team when I aged out. I was lucky enough to make the under 17s and under 20s young Matildas and mini Matildas, and then finally I was able to break into the Matildas team a few years ago. And I just wanted to keep pushing myself, and eventually I want to try and go pro and just reach the highest level possible. Next question from our number one fan, Alex Lucas. What would it mean to you if Australia and New Zealand win the right to host the 2023 Women's World Cup? Well, the 2023 World Cup is what I'm really aiming to be a part of. I'm trying to break back into the Matildas, and it would be amazing if I managed that and we would have a World Cup on home soil. I think it's really great to kind of promote the game, and I know that after every World Cup in the home country, it boosts the levels of participation for both boys and girls in grassroots. So I think that'll be great, and it'll bring the next generation of young girls pushing up and ready to take our spot in the team, and I think that's amazing for Australian football. Next question from Alison Downey. How much are you focused on playing at the 2023 World Cup, especially if it's held down under? So same as what I just said, I'm really focused on trying to make that Matildas team. That's my short-term goal at the moment, and I'm just working towards it. And I'll be really excited if I can make that team and play on home soil. Next question from another Amy Smith. Who was your idol growing up? When I first started playing football, I didn't even know the Matildas existed until I was about 12. So my idols were Ronaldinho, Messi, and Iniesta. I love Barcelona, and that's still my favorite team. But eventually, as I started moving into female soccer, my idol was Lisa Devanna. She was the most prominent Matildas player at the time, and I just loved the way she played. She was such an amazing representative of Australia, and I was still lucky enough to play with her in the Matildas, play with her at Sydney FC, and she's always looked out for me, and she still remains my idol and someone who just keeps looking out for me. Next question. Henry Wood says, what was more exciting and why? Getting into Stanford or making your Matildas debut? It's a really good question. I think at the time, making my Matildas debut was the highlight of my career. I was 16 in 2018, made the Tournament of Nations in America, and it was so unexpected. Just took me by complete surprise. I was actually in the middle of an under-20s tournament when I got the email from the Matildas manager and from Alan Stajic that I had been selected in the team to go to America, and I was completely shocked. Had no idea I was even being considered, and I just thought, this is everything I've been working for, all the sacrifices, and I was just excited to get in there and learn everything. So I made my debut. I got my first cap for the senior team, which is something that everyone works towards, and that was the highlight. But at the moment, getting into Stanford, it was kind of another shock revelation that kind of happened. Very quickly, the coaches got in contact with me through BD Goad and Alex Chidiak, and I went for an official visit. I loved the culture, the atmosphere, and the coaches. Got to experience it, and they offered me a place in the class of 2024. So at the moment, I'm so excited to go to Stanford. I think it's such a great next step in my career, and just to be able to combine my academics and playing at such a high level with some of the best players in youth American football. So really excited about that. Um, Next question is really similar from Angela Hines. What are you looking forward to most about living and playing in the USA and why? And have I had any good advice about it yet? Um, like I said, really looking forward to just experiencing that culture. It's a completely different footballing system and an education system. So I think it'll be a great next step for me to challenge myself continually just to keep improving because that's my number one thing. Um, I'll be living on campus with the team. I think that just the American culture and camaraderie is something that I want to experience, and it's a different sort of level, different sort of culture. And any good advice? I've heard nothing but good things about the American college system. Every year, all of the American internationals who come say that it's some of the best years of their life, and I just want to have the same experience as them and be able to reflect back on it as soon as I'm finished. Samantha P. from Albury asks, how has the coronavirus affected your plans to play in the US and also study? So the coronavirus has affected it quite a bit. I was supposed to be over in America by about mid-July towards the end of the summer season just to get acquainted with the team and the whole setup and just get settled in. But at the moment, they've shut down Australian borders, all visa appointments at the US Embassy. So I've had to, everything in the college system has gotten shifted. So our official start date is now August 5th. So that's the latest I can be over there. But at the moment, I only have a US Embassy appointment for August 19th, which is a long way away from when I'm supposed to be there. So I have to apply for an emergency visa. I'm in contact with the school and their athletics department, and then I also have to apply directly to the Australian government for a travel exemption. So it's all a bit of a mess at the moment, but we're getting there, and hopefully I can make it in time for the start of preseason and get to know the team and just get settled in and not be so frantic like I am at the moment. Next question. Niall Sloan from Bondi. What do you get up to outside of football? Do you have a job and what sort of hobbies? I do have a job. As soon as W League ended, I was lucky enough to get a job at a health company, and that was pretty much right at the crux of coronavirus. So as soon as I was signed on to the company, it's about telehealth consultations. So when you have your doctor's appointment, you can't meet them in person. My team manages the whole software to kind of link the patient up with their clinician. So I'm on customer support and also onboarding all of the new clinicians from all over the states of Australia onto the platform. So it's pretty challenging. It's a nice entry into the health system for me. I'm in contact with kind of a bunch of government officials, so it's pretty intense, but I really enjoy it. It's another challenge for me. And I was lucky enough to have this job during this time when a lot of people were either losing their jobs or they were temporarily suspended. So I was extremely lucky, especially coming right out of a W League season. So yeah, really excited about that. That keeps me busy during the days. Usually I train once or twice a day as well, so I fit that in between. And my hobbies, I love to just relax at home with my family and my dogs. I've really actually gotten into photography and video and photo editing during quarantine, so that's also kept me busy. And I really enjoy that, and I'm trying and improve my photography skills. They're not too great at the moment, but they're getting there. Next question. Sid in Annandale, what was your favourite game of the season and why? Definitely my favourite game would be our derby rematch against the Wanderers at Cromer Park. It was my first start of the season. I also got to play alongside my friend Taylor Ray, who was coming back from her ACL injury. So that was amazing to pair up with her again because with her injuries, my injuries, we've been on and off, and usually we work so well together. So just to be able to play again with her, and then also to get that massive win over them after the last game previously when we lost, and just to be in the atmosphere as well. Cromer Park and just any home game for Sydney is always such a great experience. The fans are amazing. You guys are the best, always cheering us on, and just it was so loud there, and the atmosphere was incredible. So it was just a really enjoyable game, and the win was just a bonus on top of that. Susie Davies from Bronte with the next question. Who is your best friend on the Sydney FC team? Like I said, Taylor Ray is probably my closest friend on the team. Um, we've come up through the ranks of youth football together. The first time we ever met, we played against each other in year 6 in a PWSA tournament. She was in Queensland, I was New South Wales, and I remember looking at their team and going, wow, who is that amazing player? And eventually we kind of bumped into each other at Institute, and then it's only recently that we've become quite close as she's been going back and forth between her home in Townsville and back and living here in Sydney. So this year we've become extremely close, pretty much inseparable. And during the coronavirus lockdown, we were able to meet up and do gym together. We were able to train. And at the moment, because I'm training by myself so much, she breaks the monotony a lot. We have really good sessions together, and it's just always fun around her. Eric Maud from Forest Lodge with the next question. Which is your favourite country you have visited on your football travels and why? Probably the best country would be France. So I was on the Europe trip with the Matildas, and we were in France for a little bit. We're in the countryside, so I didn't get to go sightseeing too much, but I became addicted to baguettes, and the food was just amazing. When we played against France, they were such an amazing team. Kind of eye-opening with the level of quality that they have over there, but definitely the food. Kirsty Dunn from Epping. What do you miss most, or what will you miss most about leaving Australia? I think that probably my family, my mum especially. She's always been my number one supporter, and my 2 dogs. Got 2 Cavaliers, Rusty and Lexi, and they're the cuddliest animals, and I think I'll just always miss having them around, stalking me around the house and sitting on my lap, keeping me warm, watching TV. And also my friends from school and from soccer as well. It'll be a completely new environment. I won't know anyone, so I just think I'll miss that familiarity. Last question. Wayne Shawwell asks, what are your ambitions in football and a career outside of football? So at the moment, my ambition is to break back into the Matildas. That's the number one thing. And also, especially at Stanford, when I go in August, I want to be able to break into the team and really make an impact, especially in that totally new culture and footballing world. Eventually, I want to play in a World Cup, so aiming for either, which is really soon, either the next Olympics, which will hopefully be happening next year, so I'm really working hard for that, but eventually I want to make the 2023 World Cup squad, and fingers crossed, it'll be in Australia. Eventually, once I finish Stanford, I want to go pro for a few years, as many as possible, and just to reach that highest level. Like I said, I always want to challenge myself, and it's always the goal to just keep moving forward. As for a career, once I finish at Stanford, I'm hoping to major in human biology or another science-related degree, go pro, like I said, and then eventually come back to Australia and study a law degree, hopefully at UNSW. That's my goal. And then once I finish that degree, I want to try and become a lawyer, go into bioethics, or later hopefully become a judge, which I think will be really cool. Question from Kevin. Would you like to see a women's AFC Champions League, and if it happened, which city in Asia would you have liked to play in? Wow. I think an AFC Champions League would be amazing. We don't really have such a high level that connects all of the different countries across the world. So that would be great. We have our AFC tournaments in our youth teams and in the Matildas, but I think having that club level tournament or even just league would be amazing. We'd be testing ourselves against the best countries in the Asian region. I know that in the youth teams we struggled against those high level teams like North Korea, South Korea, Japan, and China when we went to those tournaments. So I think having that Champions League would probably help develop the younger girls who are in the team. So myself as a young player in Sydney, if I had the opportunity to play across the world in the Asian region against those teams, I think it would develop myself, and then it would probably help benefit us as we go into those youth tournaments for the national teams. And we might actually, I know we haven't made an under 20s or under 17s World Cup in about 12 years. So I think that would actually boost us quite a bit. And then even for the older, more established players, say if we had a Sydney FC team going to compete in that Champions League, I think that it would really help us and help Australian development in the W League as well. It would just keep boosting it, and then we'll be attracting more players in from different countries, and I just think it'll be great overall. As for the best country to play in, I would love to play in Japan. They have such an amazing country, and their quality of their teams is so great, and I really want to visit there again, go sightseeing a little bit too. When are Sydney FC going to play again? Well, for the women's team, we won't be playing again until the next W League season. That should be starting, I think we start pre-season around October, beginning of October. Um, and then the game should start around November, I believe. Um, so I think that'll be when it starts up again, and that's all depending on whether COVID-19 has affected the league, pushed it back, especially since I know that the American leagues are only doing a really short tournament now. And it also depends on whether other leagues across the world have pushed their leagues back a few months to counteract the coronavirus shutdown. Thanks everyone for all of your questions. I really loved answering them. There were some really great ones. I hope to see you all supporting Sky Blue in the future, and thank you for following my journey as well. Look forward to seeing you all back on the pitches supporting Sydney FC. And yeah, can't wait to see you all again.